Hi, Assalamualaikum. Hello guys. So we meet again. My name is Muhammad Ashraf bin Rosli. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and especially to our beloved doctor, Dr. Shamsul, and also to my fellow friends in diploma in education. So for the task given, second task, so we need to do an analysis for the alternative assessment. So for the alternative assessment, I've been choose the presentation as the assessment to be analyzed. So without further delay, let's start with the slide presentation. Alternative assessment prepared by me, Muhammad Ashraf bin Rosli. So let's start with the first slide, learning outcome. So if you can see here, learning outcome for the alternative assessment that have been done, which the topic covered is SWOT analysis on product specification. By that, students should be able to explain the meaning of SWOT, list the difference between strength, weakness, opportunity and threat, analyze the product and service on how it could be marketed online and market in future. So at here I'm giving you the table, so you can see the unit learning outcomes, suggested learning and learning activity, and tools, material and equipment that have been used during the assessment. So next we see on the table of specification. So as we all know that TOS for alternative assessment is served as its purpose to cover the course learning outcome, which CLO2 has been covered, the construct online business idea. So this CLO actually covered the topic that assessment have been done. So based on the topic SWOT analysis, so this is the TOS that I've been used to cater and to evaluate the students. So now we move to the lesson plan. So the norm in the KKT and Kuantan, the lesson plan is to be done accordingly with the three phases involved. So we start with the phase of introduction, where the induction set take place, and then we go to the development phase, with which the detail for or the subject knowledge take place, and last phase is summary, where the conclusion of the class happen occurred during at the end of the day. Okay, so this is, you can see here the activity that have been run during the class, the student activities, so that we can see the sequence for each of the phases, start from introduction up until the summary. So for the proceed with the assessment tasks and tools. So assessment tasks and tools, this instruction and guidelines that I assign to the student to follow. So the instruction and the documentation need to be done accordingly, because it involve with marks. So students have been giving this instruction, so they need to follow, and also the documentation that student need to submit for me to get the evaluation of the mark. So next we go to the slide of the rubric and performance indicator. So for the group presentation rubric, it involves with the three major elements to be evaluated. So each element consists of several items to be done for analysis. If we look at these slides, the elements that involved is, first is professionalism. So under the professionalism, uh, it has three items to be analyzed, and then second element is content, two items to be analyzed, and the last one is the last element is supporting materials, so which two items need to be analyzed. So we proceed with the before we go in detail with the analysis of each item. So let's see on the overview of data analysis and interpretation. So before moving forward, so this analysis has been done for the DKI 3A class, which consists of 16 students. So the analysis was recorded on the ability of the student to present the task assigned. So all the guideline for the task assigned has been released during class. So three major elements to be assessed during presentation, and the total marks for the presentation is 10%. So if you can see on the table, so you can see the group, students name, total score and percentage. So for the group, like I mentioned, in the assessment task, so students need to form 4 groups. So group 1, group 3, group 4, say all the students name, and the total score for all the presentation is 28 marks, but formularized into the 10%. So we go to the first element, professionalism. So like I mentioned before, under the first element there is three items need need to be analyze. First is eye contact, second one is mannerism, and third one is business attire. So we go first for the eye contact. So if we look on the eye contact, all groups scored 3 out of 4, meaning 3 marks out of 4. So most of them consistent, like I see on the presentation, most of them consistent using the direct contact with audience, but they still return to the slide to refer back. So majority were comforting moving around and be able to present their ideas in front of the audience, but still they are preferably looking at the slide back to back. So next, for the second item on the mannerism, if you can see here, G group 1, group 2 and group 4 scored 3 marks, while group 3 scored full marks. So this is the analysis that I have been taken out is the majority for group 1, group 2 and group 4. They did the minor mistake, but they quickly recovered. But also they display a mild tension, such they are looking worried while present, and too much movement, too much gesture have been done during the presentation. But for the group 4, they shows a really purely confident, and really confidence seems like the verbal and non-verbal is very natural. So seems like they are really well prepared before doing the presentation. So next, the last item under the professionalism is business attire. So if you look at the business attire, group number 4 scored 2, group number 1 scored 3, while group 2 and 3 scored 4 for business attire. Okay, so during the presentation, group number 4 wore less proper attire during presentation, while G1 wore appropriate, but the shirt less appropriate for appropriate for the shirt, but less appropriate for the pants. For group 2 and group 3, both group wore business attire at the best, because they are following the professional code of business conduct on the attirement. Okay, next we move to the element number 2, which is content. So under the content, the element 2 contents, it is consists of 2 items to be analyzed. First is subject knowledge. So we look on the subject knowledge first. For the item of subject knowledge, group number 1 scored 2 marks, group 2 and 4 scored 3 marks, while group number 3 scored the highest mark. So student in the group number 1, if we look at the table, they are showing uncomfortable and less confident while presenting the ideas. But different from the group number 3, they show they are really well prepared and really convincing me in terms of their explanation. While group 3 and group number 4, they scored 3 because of what? Because they are still good in the situation where they are feeling ease in presentation, but there are lack of elaboration on the point that they are presented. So that's why I'm giving them 3 marks compared to the G3. I'm giving them full marks. So next item in the content is consistency organization. So majority of the group scored 3 marks for the consistency organization, while group number 3 get the highest mark, which is full marks, 4 marks. So most of the group follow the logical sequence while presenting, but for the group number 3, they comes with an interesting order, which the item much ease and like is the audience to follow. Like we call that the item much is to follow by the audience lah. Okay, next we go to the element number 3, the last element to be analyzed. So element number 3 is supporting material. So under the supporting materials, there is 2 items to be analyzed. So first item is quality of slides. So for quality of slides, all of the group receive score 3 out of 4. This is because from what I have seen, 80% from the slides were easy to read and understand, but other slide is contain too much information or have improper font use. Some of the group they are mixing the font, so it looks like not really proper for using for for the slides to be looked at. Okay. Next, item number 2 is visual aids. Okay, if you see here, if you can see here on the table, all groups score 3 for the visual aids. This is because each group use an adequate aids for presentation, but less interesting. So that's why I'm giving them. All of them is 3, and however the engagement with the material is there. So that's the giving them 3 marks out of 4 because most of groups did very well. Alright, Alhamdulillah. Okay, that's all from me. Thanks everyone for watching my video, and hopefully we all can get something that beneficial from for us from this video. By that I end my video with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.